to Just Be True, a soul led podcast. I'm Summer, and I am so grateful that you're here with me today. Today, we're going to be talking about mastering your boundaries. So, we've all need to move beyond why boundaries are sacred and into how to actually implement them into real life because knowing something doesn't always translate into living it. So, today, we're going to talk about that. If you've ever known you needed a boundary but struggled with holding that, then this episode is for you. I've spoken about boundaries in episodes 9 and about protecting your energy in episode 6. And so this episode can provide additional clarity and practical actions that you can take to bring in that daily practice of boundaries into your life. So let's get started. Energetic boundaries aren't about becoming distant, cold, or unavailable. They're about learning how to stay connected without losing yourself. For many sensitives, empathic, or intuitive people, boundaries weren't modeled. Instead, we've had to learn them. What we've learned to overcome is being accommodating, being available, or being understanding of our own at our own expense. So when we begin setting boundaries, it can feel uncomfortable, even that we are doing something wrong, and those on the other side of your boundaries are going to be agitated, irritated, and even upset. That discomfort doesn't mean you're doing it incorrectly. It usually means you're doing something new and often many times right. So let's start with emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries are about recognizing where your emotions end and someone else's begin. For many people, especially empaths, caregivers, and those who learned early on to manage other people's emotions, this line is never clearly drawn. So we were taught that being loving meant being available, absorbing, and fixing. How many of you find yourself as the fixer of situations, right? Over time, that can blur the boundary between compassion and responsibility. A real life example of this may look like you have a friend who calls you often and when they're overwhelmed, right? You listen, you support, you offer comfort, but when the call ends, you feel drained, heavy, maybe even irritated. You may even notice that your mood had shifted for the rest of the day. Carrying the weight of someone else's problems often show up quietly. You replay their words in your mind over and over and over. You feel the tension in your body. You stay emotionally activated long after the conversation's ended. That's not empath. That's over-identification. An emotional boundary doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying. CARRYING. You're carrying the weight of others' problems. Instead of immediately trying to fix or absorb what they're feeling, you might internally remind yourself, this is their experience. I can witness it without taking it on. This is being the role of an observer. Being in the role of observer doesn't mean you're detached or indifferent. It means you're present without merging. You're not merging into their energy. You're not merging into their problems. You're going to witness it and you're going to observe it from a safe, healthy distance. You can witness someone's pain without stepping into it. You can acknowledge their experience without making it your own. Outwardly, it may sound something like, I hear you. That sounds really hard, or I get what you're going through. I'm certain things will turn better for you. Notice what's missing there. You're not fixing it. You're not solving it. You're not rescuing it. You're present without overextending. You're not saying, well, how can I help you? What do you need from me to get through this moment? When you say words like that, you're stepping into that and you're crossing that healthy boundary, right? This is often where a lot of times when we don't say those things, this is where the guilt shows up. And you may say, well, if I don't fix this, I'm being unkind. If I don't fix this, I'm not caring enough. But fixing isn't always kindness. Sometimes the way of managing our own discomfort with someone else's emotions. So you may find yourself wanting to fix something because you're uncomfortable with the emotions that it brings up within you. But it's not your problem to fix. It's theirs. So learning to be the observer. I'm going to say your body will often tell you when your emotional boundary is needed. Tightness in the chest, shallow breathing, the irritation, those are signals. They're not flaws. Your body is not betraying you. It's communicating with you. Those sensations are early warnings asking for care and not correction. When you listen to them, you prevent resentment from building up later. If you notice yourself holding your breath, leaning forward energetically, or tightening your body while someone is sharing, that's often a sign that you've crossed from witnessing into carrying. Carrying, right? We're not going to carry anymore. Compassion allows space. Responsibility takes ownership. Emotional boundaries help you stay compassionate without slipping into responsibility of emotions that are not yours to resolve. Emotional boundaries don't make you less loving. They make you more love sustainable. So just sit with that for a moment, right? The next boundary we're going to talk about is time boundaries. Gotta love those. Time boundaries are about recognizing that your time is also energy in motion. How you spend it directly impacts how you feel, how you show up, and how much of yourself you have given. I've had moments in my life where I said yes, even though everything in my body was asking for me to rest. I told myself it would be fine, that I could push through, that I didn't want to disappoint others. And in those moments, I wasn't checking in with my own energy. I was not honoring my own personal needs. I was prioritizing expectations of others over my own truth. What I noticed was that even when the situation itself wasn't bad, I would leave feeling drained, disconnected, or frustrated. Not because of the other person, not because of who I was around, but because I ignored what I already knew. I already knew that I needed rest and permission to say no. I have learned over the years that it is perfectly fine to say no. You're not less thought of. You're not less loved. You're not less cared for. No is a healthy boundaries for you to set time out for yourself to say no. I need time for myself. So oftentimes, time boundaries reveal themselves slowly, right? They're going to build themselves up with exhaustion and tired. They're not going to show up as emergencies. They show up as quiet signals we learn to override, not loudly, not quietly, but through exhaustion, resentment, or a sense of being stretched too thin. Time boundaries begin when you trust yourself enough to pause before responding. And you may ask yourself, do I really have the capacity to do this right now? Making valuable time for yourself is not something that happens easily, right? It's learning to be able to take care of yourself and to manage your own personal time. It's something you intentionally protect. For me, that has looked something like rest over obligation, creating space in my schedule where it's filled with productivity and allowing moments of quiet without feeling like I need to justify them. Time boundaries sound like, that doesn't work for me, or I'm not available at that time, or I'm not available right now. I need to honor my energy today, so I'm just going to chillax. I have, a couple of days of the month that I use as tub time. Oh, I love my tub time. I set up a nice little heater in the bathroom because I like it nice and warm. It's kind of like our spa, right? I have a really long tub. It's like 6 feet long, and it's a jet tub. It's got, jets in it, and so I have that, and I fill it with Epsom salt with eucalyptus in it. I may throw some rosemary oil in there as well. I might even get in the mood to light some candles. And I get in there and I just enjoy being in the bath and soaking in that water. That's my time. I don't have my phone with me. I'm cut off from the rest of the world, and I am truly enjoying and connecting with that time. And what I've learned that it's okay and even necessary to say no or step away from situations that no longer feel healthy. There have been times where I've left early, declined an invitation, or changed my mind when I felt uncomfortable. But, and I've just had to leave. I'm like, this isn't for me. I need to go now. This is too overwhelming. This is too tiring. This is too much. It's perfectly okay to leave because many times staying would have meant abandoning myself or even, abandoning yourself. When you honor your time, you're not taking anything away from others. You're returning something to yourself. And when you make space for yourself, you create room to breathe, recalibrate, and show up with presence rather than running on empty. Those moments of rest aren't rewards, they're maintenance for your nervous system and your energy. So honor those moments of rest, embrace them, and intentionally take time out of your schedule to recalibrate, to re-energize, to rest and relax. You'll be thankful for it when you do. So our next boundary we're going to talk about, digital boundaries. Oh, today was social media. Let me tell you, digital boundaries are extremely important because access to you is still access. A real life example of a digital boundary may be that you check your phone first thing in the morning and immediately feel behind, overwhelmed, or emotionally activated before you've even had a chance to ground yourself. Your energy is already responding to the outside world before you've even checked in with yourself. Or maybe you feel pressure to respond to messages right away, even when you're resting, spending time with loved ones, or doing something that brings joy to you. Set the digital devices aside. Make time for those important moments. Digital boundaries are not about choosing when and how others have access to you, so your nervous system isn't constantly in a state of reaction. Digital boundaries might look like turning off non-essential notifications, choosing intentional times to check messages and emails, protecting your mornings and your evenings from outside input. I love this one. Turning off read receipts so you don't feel pressured to respond immediately. And allowing yourself to enjoy time without your phone in your hand. When we give ourselves permission to step away from our devices, even briefly, we create space to be fully present. Time spent resting, creating, walking, or simply being. It doesn't need to be interrupted or multitasking. Presence is a form of self-care. Delaying a response doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're responding with the space of readiness instead of urgency. And there's an important difference there. Being reachable does not mean being available at all times. You are allowed to protect your focus, your peace, and your energy as you need to. You are not at anyone else's beck and call. Digital boundaries aren't about disconnecting from others. They're about reconnecting with yourself first. So I want to offer a simple challenge to carry with you for this next week. Choose one intentional moment in each day to put your device down and step fully into the present moment. It doesn't have to be long. It may even be like 10 minutes without your phone in the morning, or a walk where your phone stays in your pocket. Eating a meal without scrolling, or sitting quietly without reaching for the screen. If I go out to dinner with family and friends, my phone is not at the table. It is in my purse. It is not pulled out for any reason. When I go for a walk, my phone is with me in case of emergencies, but only for emergencies only. I'm not scrolling, I'm not texting, and I'm not calling. I'm not even accepting calls. My walk in nature is my walk in nature. Right? I meditate each morning before I go to work. My phone is used as a timer only, so I can stop my meditation so I can get out of the door on time. But that's the only thing I use it for. Otherwise, it's on sleep mode. So I intentionally take time out of my day to where my phone is not a priority and it's not in use. And so if you're just starting this out, you may feel kind of unsettling. It may feel strange. Pay attention to what you're feeling and connect with it and see why you're feeling that way, right? So you may feel, your body tensing up, right? Or you may feel that you're being pulled in multiple directions of trying to be present be in the moment without your phone, but wanting to reach for your phone, right? So pay attention to that. Pay attention to why that's happening, right? What shifts is when you give your full attention to that moment. If your mind reaches for the device out of habit, that's okay. This isn't about discipline or perfection. It's about awareness and choice. You may notice that time feels slower, that your breath deepens, that you feel more grounded and more present, maybe even more connected. This challenge isn't about cutting yourself off from the world. It's about giving yourself moments to return to yourself. And as you practice this, you may find that you're not creating less time in your day, but more spaciousness within your day. So this is the part that isn't talked about enough. Holding the boundary with awareness and care. When you begin honoring yourself in new ways, emotions may surface. You might feel guilt. You may feel pushback from others. Old habits and familiar patterns may try to reassert themselves. This doesn't mean that the boundary is wrong. It means you're paying attention to it. Holding a boundary is a mindful practice. It asks you to slow down and notice what you're feeling and respond with intention rather than reflex. Often the moment you hold a boundary is the moment you become aware of how often you've crossed your own in the past. How many times have you crossed one of these healthy boundaries in the past? Right? Your body is waking up and you're becoming more aware of that. You're becoming more mindful of that. This is where self-appreciation comes in. Acknowledge the courage it takes to choose yourself differently. Recognize that honoring your own needs is not something to rush through. It's something to respect. You don't need to defend your boundary. You don't need to explain it repeatedly. Clarity, consistency, and compassion, especially towards yourself, are enough. Each time you hold a boundary with mindfulness and self-love, you reinforce the message that your energy matters. And over time, that practice becomes less about effort and more about trust. Boundaries are not walls. They are invitations to meet you with respect, honesty, and presence. Each time you honor your own energy, you strengthen your relationship with yourself. And from that grounded place, everything else begins to shift. How you show up, how you connect, how you move through the world. So love yourself, honor your boundaries, and practice them daily with mindfulness, self-love, and reflection. If this conversation resonated with you, I'd like to continue exploring practices like this. I invite you to stay connected. I share reflections, real-life experiences, and grounded guidance beyond this podcast through my newsletter. A space where we show things differently. We go a little deeper together, and we learn and explore more. You can also visit my website, just-be-true, to explore more offerings and resources and ways to support your journey. I will have links of both of these in the show notes, so I encourage you to check them out. I'll say thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing yourself. And until next time, be gentle, be honest, and just be true.